All right, great. Thanks, Peter. And I also want to start with thanking my marketing team for putting these things together. They gave us credit, but I just turn over raw information and they turn it into a presentation. So thanks to them. Thank you, Peter. Welcome, everyone. I'm Brian Chavis. I'm the Chief IT Strategist for CIS. And the topic we're doing here today is, can you get hacked through your MSP? And as I hope many of you know, your MSP is your contracted IT provider. So a little on the agenda, I'll take a couple slides and talk about us very, very briefly. Then I'll do the short presentation, which talks about the reality of cyber crimes today, increasing attacks, prime targets. And then at the end, we'll do questions. I'll take questions. So this should be 30 minutes or less. We've decided that everybody's so zoomed out that we will keep it short and very informational. So let's get started. Wow. I don't know what happened there. So, but here's our first slide, our motivation. We've been doing these for about a year, at least once a month. And we talk about cybersecurity because we think it's a duty for all businesses. And I think, we think to protect our economy here in the United States that we have to really focus on this, because most of the cyber crimes are coming from enemy nations. So the whole message here is that protect yourself. So just a little about us. We're an MSP, and but we have I guess you'd call it a culture of cybersecurity. And in fact, we are MSP Overwatch certified, which is very difficult to get. We're pretty proud of that. But that's where an outside agency comes in and verifies all of your procedures and processes to make sure that you're doing everything you can in terms of cybersecurity. So enough about us. This is my marketing team. They always surprise me with some of these slides. But the point of this slide is that this is a touchy subject. We're an MSP. And so I don't want anyone to think that we're trying to throw other MSPs under the bus. It's just, I think you'll find it in this message that it's really, really important that people understand the role of the MSP. And for us, it motivates us to really, up our standards for cybersecurity. So, okay, the reality, we always start with this kind of thing and show the different cyber stats in different ways. And so now ransomware is the thing, it's commonplace. And 1 in 6 who was hit with a ransom, more than half, actually paid up. 58% of people paid their ransoms. So it's going up. It's not like it's going down. So more and more, if you get hit, the chances are 6 out of 10 that you're going to be paying out some money. And most of these ransoms are in the thousands of dollars now. So second thing, IT budgets are changing. So we figured out that average firms, your average company, devotes more than 1/5 of its IT budget to cybersecurity, and that's up 63%. And that's a good thing. You have to spend money. I mean, everybody knows that security is expensive. And so people are starting to realize that. And I think this is a good ratio for you. Figure out if you're using 1/5 of your IT budget to cybersecurity tools and processes. So next one is interesting. So the proportion of firms that were attacked rose from 38 to 43%. But the more important fact is that on multiple attacks, if you get attacked once, you're very likely to get attacked again. I think your company name or your credentials or whatever go into some magic place on the dark web, and everyone figures that you're a good target. So many, many firms are getting targeted more than once. So, and there's a frightening range of outcomes. So 1 in 6 firms that was attacked actually said their survival was threatened. 1 in 6. So you can do the math. I mean, it's dangerous out there. So to the crux, really what I want to talk about, it started in 2020. The US Secret Service sent out a security alert to private companies, government organizations, warning about an increase in hacks of MSPs. Now, I have no idea why the Secret Service has anything to do with this. I thought they just protected the president and some other things, but you know, this was the first one that really came out. And since then, several other agencies, as you can see in here, have put out memos or warnings telling people what to do with their MSPs. So here's some more where they talk about the prime target. All of these, I mean, in my feed, the news feeds that I get, this is all over the place and recently. And the reason is that, here, I'll show you, hopefully. Oops, did I do it? I wish I was better at this. Hang on. There we go. So this cybersecurity advisory was put out, as you can see, on May 11th. So it's really, really recent. And I can't imagine what it took for all these different agencies to actually cooperate and come up with something. It must have been really expensive. And I can't imagine that they all agreed, but I think that says a lot, right? That all these people have agreed that this is a problem. So again, this came out on May 11th. I can get you the link if you'd like. But you can see it was Australia, the UK, Canada had 2 agencies involved, and the United States had all of the security agencies involved. And I think this is a really good document. And if you're interested in this, you know, this is probably one source for information. And you can see that they're showing what they think that people should do. And then as I scroll down, they have a whole section on sort of the why of it, and then recommendations. So, you know, this is a good document to begin the conversation with your MSP on what's exactly going on. And the last thing I want to point out, they have great references on here. So as a government agency, you know, it's a government document and everything's got to be documented. So, but all of these links are really pretty good if you want to dig into this whole thing. So I'm going to go back. Uh-oh. I apologize. Whew. I never know if that's going to go right. And with Zoom, it's really complicated, you know, and some of the other ones, you can just move windows around. So anyway, I hope everybody's taking this seriously. If all these government agencies are talking about it, then it must be real. So here's more on that. Sometimes I go backwards. All right, so why are MSPs being targeted? I think many of you probably know this, but you know, the MSPs have software that allows them to control, manage the systems and all the computers in their computer networks of their clients. So it makes a whole lot of sense for an attacker to attack the MSP because that gives them immediate access to, or it could give immediate access to all of the other clients in there. So it's a numbers game. And it makes sense in other ways too. I don't know how many movies I've seen where the bank robbers break into the security company to get the information to break into the bank. It's kind of that same kind of idea. And this next slide, this was from really 2 years, 3 years ago. And I just want to show it to you. The main point of this is the timing. So SolarWinds is a company that provides the software that allows MSPs to connect to their clients, right? And there are many of them, but this is the most famous breach with the company SolarWinds. So you can see here that they determined that they accessed SolarWinds in September of 19. And then in February, the following February, the attack was actually named Sunburst when they figured out what was going on. And it took until December of 20 for SolarWinds to understand that they had been breached. That's when the whole thing came out. So you can see that these actors get in. I mean, they were in there for well over a year before they really before they were caught. So you can imagine the kind of damage that can be done. So that's the reason for this slide, just to show you that, you know, these are sneaky people. So in that document, they had a lot of these questions. I kind of summarized it here. It's, you know, you can ask your MSP, do you have a security officer? Is your security accessed by a third party? You know, who else is involved? And these hacks are called supply chain hacks because they get into one company and then they leapfrog into the whole chain of companies that are connected. So you may be connected to your own customers. So that's another thing to worry about. 24/7 operations centers are really, really popular now, and they're not that expensive. And what that is, it's a step up from antivirus to where you actually have a security operations center that is monitoring your systems through, you know, software and appliances. So this is the same, it's like at your house. You know, it's one thing to have an alarm, but it's another to have a 24/7 operations center monitoring that alarm. And they'll have certain things that they will do automatically. And certainly if there's a malicious attack or they understand that files are being encrypted for ransomware, they'll shut it down immediately. And that's all artificial intelligence. So it's really, really important, I think. Multi-factor authentication it's like MFA, MFA, MFA. All of these documents, that's really the one thing that it's the highest on the list if you're not using multi-factor authentication. So instead of just a simple password, you need to have a text message that you verify or some other way that your systems can actually identify you. Does your firm perform phishing tests? This was probably the second question that was most prominent in all these documents that I've been reviewing. And so, you know, that's not very expensive either, where you can sign up and it's very automated, and your people will get fake phishing emails. And when they click on it, they'll be very embarrassed. It's actually kind of fun to do in your company. They recommend cyber liability insurance. We've done seminars on that. If anybody has questions about cyber insurance, let me know. We did an ebook on it and be happy to send you that. And then, you know, just ask the basic question: how do you safeguard our company's data privacy? There's my marketing team. Oh, that Candace thought that the previous slide needed to be zipped up a little bit, but anyway, so, you know, I recommend that you meet with your MSP to discuss business risk. As I mentioned, that joint cybersecurity advisory is a good place to start. You know, have that up on a screen and go through it with your MSP. And I guess the main thing is don't accept, don't worry, we've got this as an answer. You know, that's, I mean, everybody says that, but it's like, you know, you need to have people demonstrate exactly what they're doing. And I know sometimes you don't want to do that because the last thing you want to do is sit in a conference room and talk about IT. But really, we're not talking about technical issues. We're talking about procedures and processes and who has access to what. You know, all those kinds of questions, they're all management questions. They're not really technical questions. So the technical part of this is pretty easy. The management of your people is the hard part, right? And so that's where people get breached. It's through their own people. And we've done seminars on that as well, if you'd like to know more about it. So technically, protecting yourself couldn't be easier today, but the risk is in your employees. So I think that's why they recommend the phishing tests so much. And that's it. I got done way early this time. I don't know why, but if you have any questions, let me know. We're happy to do we have a 30-minute security planning session in which we go through all the different controls that you should have in place. And we go through, there's about 30 of them, and just kind of do a gap analysis of where you stand, and that's at no cost. Oh, okay, thanks, Peter. Anybody have any questions? I know I went through that pretty fast, but I didn't want it to be technical, and I didn't want it to be too threatening. This is just a kind of, news alert. This is what's happening and what you need to do about it.
No, absolutely. This is great. And as Brian mentioned previously, it's not just one thing, if you will. There's impacts of cyber insurance policies and just cybersecurity in general, managing employees. And so if those are any resources that you need, we've done educational presentations on those in the past, and we have resources that are available on any of those topics if any of you need them. Let's see here. And let me
Gosh, I wish we were all in a room.
Yeah,
This is frustrating. You can just raise your hand and talk.
Yep. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Was this valuable to you? I know, the conversation around cyber insurance and cybersecurity and who's getting breached and who's not getting breached is, it's just top of mind right now. And, if you read the news every day, there's something new. Was this valuable for you guys?
All right, I think we did it.
Yeah,
Short and sweet. And if anybody wants to link to that document, just let me know.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Brian, for putting this together and getting the word out there. And thank you for everyone who joined us today. I know everybody's busy, so we appreciate you taking the time. And just keep an eye out. Like Brian said, this is an educational series, and we get the word out there at least once a month about the happenings in the IT and cybersecurity world and how it's impacting businesses. So keep an eye out, and thanks again for joining.
Yep, thanks.